Okay, so as I begin to think about carving my linoleum block, I want to just talk about how I'm going to approach it. So first thing is, I know that all of this is going to be white. It's going to be my sort of negative space, light area. However, when I start to cut it, I'm not just going to cut it randomly in lots of different directions. I'm actually going to cut it with the form of the mirror, because there's going to be a lot of little chattery lines that are left behind, and those can activate this area when it's printed. So I want to cut with the shape of the mirror, so that those lines kind of enhance the sort of roundness of the form. And the same thing down here, I'm going to start to cut along the shoulder line and then around the mirror. Here's an example of that in a print. You can see in the white areas between the trees, the lines from where the cutting doesn't completely cut away areas have been left behind, and it activates the sky between the trees. In the darkest areas, I'm not going to cut too much away at all, so I might not cut anything down here to begin with, but I might cut a little bit at the top to just create a sense of the light hitting the top of the shoulder. And the same thing in the mirror. There are a lot of areas in the mirror that I'm not going to cut away at all right away, just to see how it looks. Then in the face, I'm going to probably be looking at some areas of light that I'll be cutting. But once I start cutting the light areas, I'm going to very carefully creep into the areas that have some value and do what's called a transition. So for instance, on the cheek, this part of the cheek is very light, but it then gradually gets darker down here. So I'm probably going to be using a smaller tool, and I'll cut away a lot of this area, and then I'll just kind of feather some marks into this area so that it creates a sort of like transition or a dovetail kind of mark making, so that the white lines start to creep into the dark lines and the dark lines creep into the light lines. And here are a few examples of what I was just talking about. So you can see that on the forehead of the face, this is a print by Kathy Kollwitz, German artist, and you can see that she's in the areas by the side of the face, she's left it darker, and then she's got these sort of feathery marks that are coming to the brighter part of the forehead. And in the other piece, you can see that there's the same thing happening in a lot of the areas of her face. And then in the black areas, she's just not cut anything at all. And so when the linoleum block is inked with the black ink, it creates a black area. Okay, so now you're ready to start cutting your block.